What about weddings? What about one of the best days of your life? What about all of the people that put the day together? COVID-19 has certainly changed the way that we do weddings this year, and we, like many others, have really been hit hard by this. In this video, we wanted to give suppliers a voice, as they really haven't been heard since the start of this pandemic. Members of the wedding industry and couples have been forgotten about when the government have been setting their restrictions. It isn't just one size fits all for all of us. So let's look at the facts for UK weddings every year. Over 270,000 weddings take place in a year, with over £14 billion being spent directly on those weddings. 400,000 people rely on income from those weddings, and the majority of weddings take place between the 1st of April and the 31st of October. So because of this, we wanted to give you a little bit of an insight on how wedding suppliers have been thinking and feeling this year, with constant cancellations and reschedules from couples and very little help from the government where it counts.
It just made you feel really sorry and sad for them, but all the time inside I was completely devastated myself and my business. But that's the last thing you think your couples will want to hear, so you can't say anything.
Each time there's been a new announcement, it has been one of those heart-dropping moments. So many of them have been really hard on our industry.
Yeah, we got to the stage where we would open the inbox with dread. So last year we did in the region of 230 weddings, and from start of lockdown in March to date, we have carried out 5 weddings.
The days that are harder, whenever Boris announced new restrictions, you didn't want to get up and look at your email next day. You knew what was coming. You knew you had a whole load of rescheduling to do, or people asking for money back.
My views on that now, I actually think, how did I even get through those first few weeks? But I think you do for your couples, and that's the dedication that we have as wedding suppliers.
Social distancing, when that came into effect, that was the end of it for me, because I'm a close-up magician, which means I get close to people. So yeah, I was out from day one and still am. I've not just lost, 40 odd weddings, I've actually lost 4 or 5 referrals from each wedding. So I've missed out on 160 opportunities to perform.
There was no one there really to pick us up and give us a hug, particularly because it was all about moving everyone's weddings and forgetting all our terms and conditions. Insurance companies didn't help at the time because a lot of them found loopholes, including my own insurance for business interruption, and nothing helped. Nothing was set up there for this industry at all.
It was heartbreaking every time that it looked like something was going to be changed and we could maybe go back to some sort of normality. It just felt that the country kept going backwards and backwards, and now yet again we're in another lockdown.
So here we are again in another lockdown, where no weddings can take place at all. When the new rules were announced, couples were racing to tie the knot before the restrictions were brought in. There were so many suppliers rushing to help them as well, because that is what we do. Most of the suppliers that I spoke to have only done around 6 weddings this year, which is pretty crazy compared to previous years. Think about the financial impact that has on us and everyone in the industry. But not just that, what about the emotional impact that has as well?
So I think the biggest impact has been mentally, because most people in the wedding industry are self-employed. We've built our businesses over a period of years or months, and this year we've just been forced to almost close and stop doing what we love.
The other thing is I'm gutted for that there's a lot of people that have gone under, like quite big, well-known suppliers in the Hampshire area.
And I feel for everyone in our industry is trying to get up every day and act as if we're okay. It's okay. We're just going to get up. We're going to go on with the day. When we have potential bankruptcy looming over us.
I was stood at a wedding recently and they were able to have 2 musicians in a corner. And I stood there and I said to the lady who was running the venue, I just looked at her and I said, when was the last time you heard live music? And she started crying. I was like, oh my God, it's true though, but it's such a simple thing that we took for granted an awful lot.
As suppliers, we're really starting to miss weddings, even just as much as the couples who have had to sadly postpone or cut down on their big day. It's now been 7 months since the start of lockdown, and we've had a complete rollercoaster of restrictions for our industry. But how are wedding suppliers dealing with this going forward?
I think every time the restrictions change, there's a sense of frustration. It's the fact that why is weddings the first thing to go when restrictions change.
I'm mainly terrified about people asking for refunds. I wonder how many times you'll reschedule your wedding before you give up.
And we've already lost a third of our bookings for next year. And it's almost becoming a routine having to reschedule these weddings.
When he dropped it back down to 15 people and said it will be like this for March, that was heartbreaking.
While these 15-person weddings are happening, there's 200 people in a pub down the road having a party, the last pint before lockdown. There's 100 people in Primark all shopping.
I think when it went down to 30, couples got to a point where they felt that they could accept that. When it went down to 15, that's when it got really, really tricky. And I can fully appreciate that for couples.
With all of this said, couples and suppliers just want to be heard right now. And really, that's what this campaign is all about. What are some of our frustrations as suppliers? What is it they want to change going forward? And what message is it that we want to get across to people who will listen?
I think hashtag What About Weddings does two things. The first thing is it makes people aware of just how big a problem it really is. Because if you don't know the size of the problem, you're less inclined to do something about it. And the second thing is it's a voice. It's a voice from people right across the business to say, or to have their opportunity or their shop window to say, look, this is the mess we're in. We need some help. Can somebody do something about it? You know, and at government level, that needs to be heard.
And the revenue that the government gains from our work and our industry is huge. For them then not to support us back is criminal, isn't it?
You know, we're forgotten. The wedding sector, the entire sector has been disrupted by this. Can we have a plan of where we're going?
Even if someone said, you're not going to do weddings in 2021, I think I would prefer that to this ever-moving goalpost. Boris seems to think that 15 people at a wedding is allowing us to trade. No, it's not. People will not get married with 15 people at a wedding. Therefore, I am shocked.
My message for the government would just be to consider and value the arts an awful lot more than you currently do.
Because it's not just the wedding, it's the early 20s guy who lives on his own and pays rent, and it's the, you know, young mum who couldn't go back to normal work, so she picked up a camera and now has a really successful business and has to feed her kids. I'd like people just to remember it's not just the white dress and the suit/kilt on the day.
We are just as relevant as these retail places, as these pubs, bars and restaurants. So we should be given the same freedoms to compromise in terms of our COVID safe abilities as these places.
Why can't a wedding venue decide with their own risk assessments, doing everything properly under COVID, which is inspected, to have numbers that would be relevant for the size of that wedding venue?
The rules are being implemented by people who don't understand how the wedding industry works, and there's clearly been no conversation with people in the wedding industry.
So yeah, I don't think it's been even, I don't think it's been consistent, I don't think it's been concise, I don't think it's been well thought out and well applied either. And I actually think the wedding industry has been forgotten in the whole thing.
The CMA, which is a government-backed department, has also not helped the wedding industry's cause at a time when it has been hard enough.
And I think, you know, the What About Weddings campaign is not just about, you know, oh, we're being treated unfairly. It's also about what happens to us. Where do all of us, you know, self-employed people go in the industry who are now suffering? Where do we go? What do we do? We've had no guidance at all.
The government has abandoned us. And right now, the What About Weddings campaign is the campaign that is rallying to get couples and suppliers to work together, to have an open conversation and really work towards that perfect wedding that we all really want. But we're still all here though, still surviving and still supporting the couples where it matters. Here's some words of advice from other suppliers for all the wedding couples out there who are still facing the restrictions that might be up ahead.
The weddings I've had so far that have been smaller, not one person has turned around to me and said, I really wished we'd have had the bigger wedding, but this was nice. It's been the other way around. People have said, in a way, we're really glad this happened because we've had a better day.
You need to find a way of getting married, either with or without the wedding of your dreams happening at the same time. You can do them separately, and perhaps that might be the way that you're going to need to do it in the future, because this could be the way that it's going to be. So don't let anything get in the way of your love for each other and getting married.
Like, we know exactly how it feels. We wanted the big wedding with all our suppliers, with dancing, with everything, and we don't know when we're going to be able to have that. We don't know how many times we're going to have to reschedule to have that. We want you to have the wedding that you want. However, please do think about your suppliers every time you reschedule, every time you change things. Think about this is our livelihoods, and think about how we can work together to create something that's going to work for you.
Hang on in there. Don't make any rash decisions right now about postponing your wedding. If you're getting married later next year or in the summer, don't make that huge judgment and get carried away with what's going on at the moment. Think about all these small businesses who have suffered for so long. We're with you. We've suffered alongside your heartbreak.
If you're getting married for love, then you will get married. You'll still be in love, and it'll actually be a little bit sweeter for having gone through all of this.
If we work together, we can both get through without losing.
And I think the other thing to consider is that behind every business, no matter how big you think that business might be, there's an individual, especially in the wedding industry, there's an individual who is stressed, who is sad, possibly more so than yourself.
Everybody wants to have, don't they? They want to have the wedding that they've dreamed of, which is all of their family and friends in attendance, and then have the speeches, have the first dance with everybody looking on.
So I'm just hoping that we get a vaccine soon and we can start to get back to doing what we love, not just in our sector, but in everyone's sector.
I think the announcement of the vaccine recently has boosted the whole wedding industry. All of a sudden there's light at the end of the tunnel now.
So of course, we need clarity, we need support, and we need a roadmap of where our industry is going, because are we really going to make it out of it at the end of it otherwise? Now more than ever, you really need to support your local small businesses, whether that be wedding suppliers or whether that be something else. So what can you do to help one of your local suppliers today? Why don't you get onto Facebook and share one of their posts, or leave a glowing review if you've used their service before? Or why not order a bespoke handmade gift for that person for Christmas? Because any of those things could really help put a smile on someone's face today who really needs it.